What happens when your marketing doesn't match your product? You're overpromising and underdelivering, and that means you have a weak brand, right?
That means you have a weak brand. Yeah, it's the one thing you don't want to do. And I think today we have a couple of examples that we're going to touch on that are pretty obvious to everyone. And I think one of them we brought up was Nutella. Yeah, Nutella. Shannon, tell them what happened with Nutella.
All right. Do y'all remember when was this? 2011.
2013.
2013, when Nutella was like the best thing. All right. I was in middle school. I was 13 years old. I loved it. Oh my gosh. Me and my friends would go downstairs at night and eat the Nutella. And now Nutella is still banned from our house.
It is.
I think I had an addiction.
So what did Nutella, so how did you get, how did you not, Nutella basically, their ad campaign, I guess, did not touch on it
was the messaging was that it was supposed to be healthy, and it was like an alternative to peanut butter.
Yeah, it was a healthy breakfast for kids.
Yeah,
is what they were promoting.
Okay, my mom and we never had Nutella in our house. I never had Nutella. So this is back in 2013.
That's when it first came out.
Oh, that's because I was old by this time.
So it looked just like peanut butter, but it's chocolate with
okay,
hazelnut.
okay,
yeah,
interesting.
Yeah. I would eat it out the jar.
So their message was that this is a healthy
alternative to a breakfast. So it's supposed to be filling and not that bad for you, but it was.
So when you look at the package, what was some of the, Mike, you were telling?
Yeah, I was trying to look it back up again. I think it had like 20 grams of sugar, and I mean it was something
per tablespoon
ridiculous.
Probably.
Yeah, it was a lot. Yeah, I have to look back.
Back then, I was not reading. I mean, I was only 13. I was not reading the back of labels like how I do now. And now I'm like, oh, that's processed. That's too much sugar and all that. But back then, I was just like, ooh. And yeah, so my mom stopped buying it.
Obviously, because Mike found this in the brand, the Overpromising and Underdelivering folder. And so I guess their message across the board just was not true to what the product is. And was there an event that happened where people realized this and it started to get a bad name?
Yeah, I think basically they were sitting there talking to them, and I think they had to pay back fines and come back and apologize to the, basically saying it was a false advertising and stuff like that. But I mean, it's just like what we always talk about: use logic, do your research.
Yeah.
Don't let marketing really kind of tell you exactly what it is.
Exactly. Yeah, there's another one that's a little bit of a touchy subject, but we're going to kind of go there. Is, just keeping this in line with overpromising and underdelivering. So we just go through this pandemic, right? And so everybody's nervous, and now they come out with, a way to cure the pandemic, right? Cure the disease of COVID, et cetera. And really what was put out there, didn't match up to what it actually did. And the byproduct of that is, when you go out there and you tell somebody, hey, if you take this, you won't get the virus. If you take this, you won't spread the virus. If you, not only did that backfire, but the byproduct of that is it created a lot of distrust and mistrust for a very important organization in our country, right? The people that are testing the drugs and telling us that they're safe. And, it just goes to show you that no matter what, even if it's the government, even if it's business, man, you have to do your research. We talk about all this stuff all the time. Do your research, be a thinker, know what you're putting in your body. The Nutella thing, you didn't know it was full of sugar and full of calories. And the byproduct of that is your mom has to have a sit down with you at 13 years old to say, hey, Shannon, I think we have a problem. But then it's also a serious thing like with this pandemic, And man, I've taken every vaccine that they've had, the, chicken pox and the mumps and the measles and all the things that you have. And those, I think, although the definition of a vaccine might have changed, the definition that I always understood of a vaccine was that when you took this, it prevented you from getting something, right? So I think what happened is they just called it something that it wasn't, right? They could have just called it a therapeutic, or, they didn't even have all the testing done on it and everything. So, just you gotta, when you're sitting here and these brands are coming at you, remember these brands, it's propaganda, it's persuasion, it's all those things. So you have to, what we did, what my family did, is we just said, let's sit tight, let's wait to see what happens with people, and then let's make a decision when there's a little bit more information. And I think if you just practice that across all of your decision-making process, do the research and understand what you're getting into, than as a consumer, if somebody who's consuming these products, it's going to help you make a better decision for your friends and family. And brands, listen, what you're telling the public has to match up with what you're delivering.
Your marketing
to
has
them.
to match up with your product. This all goes back to overpromising. You know, wouldn't you rather underpromise and have great reviews and your consumers wanting more and boasting about how great this product is versus it's not matching up with what the results are of your product or service?
Yeah, and Nutella and the government could have taken a different approach. Yeah.
Right. They had to backpedal because they were like, oh, crap, people are finally realizing that this is not what, we originally said it was.
Yeah.
Let's rebrand, kind of. I mean, and then for the vaccine, you had to go back and say, well, it doesn't fully prevent you from getting COVID. This is to lessen the symptoms. It doesn't promise or guarantee that you won't get it, which is like...
Maybe Nutella was going on the back that healthy had a different definition in 2013. Maybe that could be what it is, because a lot of times you said, man, that's a healthy girl. Maybe they were thinking something a little bit different than what the healthy breakfast talks about.
Oh, so the Nutella could maybe your mom said your butt was getting a little big, right? That's what she told you, Shannon?
Yeah.
So
I was never big, but I just I've always been super small and fit, And she was just like,
those jeans are looking a little different on you today, girl.
So, but, it's now, of course, not being 13 anymore and being smarter about the things that you buy. I also think that that this happens a lot with skincare products, body washes and stuff. They, have to go back and say, sorry, we didn't mean this exactly. This is really what it does because it's an overpromise and the consumers are not happy with the results.
Exactly. So when you overpromise and underdeliver, you hurt your brand. Sometimes
and that causes distrust.
Distrust, yeah. That's just a natural thing that happens with people. And whether it's the government or whether it's a product, brands, tell your consumers, tell your people what they're going to get and what they can expect and be truthful. And then consumers, do your research before you jump into anything because these brands are there to sell you something, and sometimes they don't act with the proper amount of honesty.
And if you're the business owner, just make your marketing match your product.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. So of course you want to make your product sound amazing, but don't overpromise.
Don't overpromise.